Perfect. So in math, we have what's called a flat surface, right? A plane goes on in every direction. In algebra, we use what's called the coordinate plane for graphing our points. And who was that person that invented the system? Jake?
I remember his last name, Descartes.
Right, Rene Descartes. On the Brain Pop video they showed, he was the one that invented this system of graphing our coordinates. Let's take a look here. Vamir, you want to read that slide?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and what did we say we call the horizontal axis?
The X.
The x-axis. So our horizontal, right, just like a regular number line we know, is our x-axis. And the other is vertical, right, with positive and negative directions. And what do we call that one? The y-axis, right? It's going up and down. This is our y-axis. If we're thinking about our coordinate plane, it's filled with lots of points. Just like Jake said, it's a radar where different planes could fly, right? There's as many points as we need, but somewhere amongst those points is what we call the origin. Who can remind me, what did they say on the video the origin is? Go ahead, Jake.
It's where the numbers start. It's like in the center.
Yeah, it's in the very center. Good. Is that what you were going to say, Luke? Like, think about your hands, right? Make an X with your hands. Where your two hands meet, in the middle is the origin. It's the very start. Think of it's the original. So the coordinates for the origin are what? What's it always going to be if it's the very start? Where do our numbers start from? Zero, exactly. Our origin is right at the very start. It's at 0. We haven't left the center. And you can draw yourself a little origin, right? And add a dot there so you remember. This spot in the middle is the origin, 0, 0. Just like we just said, the origin is what? The 0, 0. And it's the point where the two number lines meet. Label your X and your Y axis. Right? My X axis. My Y axis. And my origin is right there in the middle. So this we went over, and just like on the video they said, the horizontal number line is our x-axis. It goes, oops, that's not a very good line there. It goes across here. And our vertical number line is our y-axis. It goes up and down. Like I said, the plural of axes is axes. So we often talk about our coordinate axes there. We have 2 of them since we're moving in 2 directions on our plane. I like how they say that coordinates are like an address. They tell you how to get to a point if you start at the origin, right? So the coordinates are the directions you're going. Perfect. So coordinates are always written with our little parentheses. And the X always comes first. I like on that brain pop video. That video gives you so much information, just those 4 minutes there, right? They showed the alphabet and they showed how the X comes before the Y. That's how you can remember that our X comes first. So this is our first direction and the Y is my second direction. Okay, let's take a look there. Kate, can you read that slide for me?
Yeah.
Perfect. So think about it within the name. That's why I like math. It always makes sense. There's an order to it. So they call your coordinates an ordered pair. You have to follow the order. So let's think now, consider the point which has coordinates at 4, -2. So remember, you're always going to start at the origin. So if you're at the origin here, we're going to go over 4 spaces. So I'm going to count 1. It looks like this one they had marked the halves as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to go down 2 spaces since it's -2. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, and I'm going to make a mark there. Once I have that point marked, I'm going to erase my little jumps so I don't get it confused.
Isn't there a point where you don't use the numbers? It's like you have to.
It sounds like we talked about the origin a lot, because believe it or not, when we're done with the notes, I always have students that say, what's the origin? Right? The origin is the start. It's always 0, 0 are your coordinates for your origin. And remember, we also call coordinates our ordered pair. So we don't go anywhere for the origin. But just like on the video, they talked about how our quadrants can be broken down into different names. All in this first quadrant, notice all the values are positive up here. So if a point lands in quadrant 1, you know it's positive. Quadrant 2, the x's are negative, but the y's are positive. What do you know about quadrant 3?
All of it is negative?
All of it is negative. Both the x and the y values are negative. And how about quadrant 4?
X values are positive and Y values are negative.
Perfect. X are positive, y are negative. So you're going to need to know how to identify where it lands. If it lands at the origin, it's not in a quadrant. If it lands on the x-axis, it's on the x-axis. It's also not on a quadrant. And if it lands on the y-axis, it's on the y-axis. I want you guys to try this. Label the ordered pair for each of these 4 spots. And I'll number them. This will be A, B, C, and D. When you have your 4, you can message me in the chat. Remember, when you're messaging me, you can say like you could say A, and then remember we use parentheses for our ordered pairs. And I'll do the first one so you can see, right? I always start at my origin. I go over 2. So 2 would be my X. And then I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3 spaces for my Y. So my ordered pair for point A would be 2, 3. You guys try B, C, and D. Message me when you've got them. Okay, so check yours with mine to see your coordinates. Remember, we always start at 0. Always come back to 0. And remember, my number line, if you need to, remember, label it. 1, -1, 2, -2. And the same this direction. This is going down, so it's -1, -2, -3. This is going up, it's positive. Questions on that? Or once you've graphed these, that you check that they match here. When you're giving the definitions for each of these pages, for origin, I know that this is at 0, 0. It's where the X and the Y axes meet, but you don't need to give a whole long definition as long as you understand what they mean. Once you finish your definitions on here, then you can start on your Khan Academy.